quick, maybe because I set it up the way I did. So, people, I'll give you a few minutes to get into the room here, and I'm going to get things together. Um, Again, I'm just bringing an update to the situation as best as I can, and I understand people are not on Twitter. This is a countdown. There's a few countdowns, I guess. We're going to see how this virus does. It's already, they've got, like I said, like I was showing there, footage there, that there are basically the bodies of the dead in the hallway in Wuhan, and they've been there since morning. So these are the hashtags. I want to get these hashtags out. The bottom hashtag, they're using that hashtag even though it's spelled incorrectly with a O. It's Corona, almost like the beer, coronavirus. The whole thing is, if you look at the virus under a microscope, it looks like a sun, and the ring around the sun being the spikes that adhere to its host. It looked like the corona of the sun, as if almost like if you had a solar eclipse, but the way the ring on the outside of it looked like a corona. So if you want to write those down, and then I'm about to cover them up here with the footage that I just showed. It's going to be a picture. I'm not able to play the video on that device, but I will put a link to it off of Twitter. There's a lot that's being put on Twitter that's not in the view of the general public. I highly suggest that you go to Twitter, and if you look at this hashtag 2019 NCOV, there's a person that actually had created an entire account, named it that. Sorry, I blurred the video. Named it this 2019 NCOV, or NCOV 2019 is another one, I think. Either way, I've posted quite a few of their things on mine. And so I'm not trying to gain followers on Twitter. I'm telling you, don't follow me on Twitter. Go to Twitter, start an account, set it up, and that is where they are telling the true news about everything. If you want to know what's going on in the government, all kinds of stuff, but forget about all that. This is the real story right now. This is, well, it's a countdown. I appreciate the like. I just got here. I ain't even done anything yet. Okay, so the thing is, it's a countdown. Basically, there's several different countdowns right now. One is the countdown to the mutation of the virus, and that hashtag that channel is on on Twitter is basically a forum for a lot of doctors to put input into. That is highly technical. Some of it they're trying to actually make it so that the general public can understand it on Twitter, though, by putting it in layman's speak. Just like we don't speak lawyer speak, we don't know all the words of medical terms. I did not go to medical school. I've just, like I said, when I got pneumonia too and almost died from it, I felt this. And I tell you, at that point, when I was a kid, I started learning about different viruses and stuff. And I know more about the Spanish flu than most people, and I could write a book about it. The point is, though, that they speak it in a different way, but they're trying to bring it to the people on Twitter, and I'm trying to bring it to you. Because I understand there's some people that aren't on Twitter. I understand, too, that you may not want to go, and I understand that there's people that are still running flip phones that are paranoid to even make a comment. They're like, attaboy, good job, and they're telling me, you're doing great. And some of them call me, hey, man, you're awesome. But the thing is, it's like, I'm trying to bring it to everyone. That's the only way you're going to get this news out. So those are the hashtags you'll use. And like they were saying, even though this one is the incorrect spelling, coronavirus, people are using it. So you could use either one of these to find information and hashtag anything you put up if you have a Twitter account to these two. And if you do have a Twitter account, you're welcome to share my videos on there. That'll actually help get the word out. I mean, it's just a few hundred views now. It's no big deal. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, even going to pay for the sugar in this coffee I'm drinking. However, it's about getting the word out. That's all it's ever been about, So I'm not trying to be well-known for being well-known. Just trying to show a little something. All right, so I'm going to put this up here real quick so that you understand that on Twitter, there are things you do not see in the news and you won't see in the news. This is from China, and I will try to, maybe it's even too bright. No, that'll work. That will work, and if you'll forgive me for the angle, I'm going to do the best I can to straighten it up. These are dead bodies under those under those cases. Okay. Those people died laying down in the hallway waiting to be seen. They were not yet tested, much less confirmed cases, simply because they did not see the doctor yet. But they know damn well that those are dead people from the coronavirus, from the Wuhan pneumonia. And it's not a flu that causes pneumonia. It's a disease that puts these vesicles inside your lungs, and you die from the water in your lungs, or maybe you'll beat the virus and live if they give you oxygen, and can make it a one-way air situation in the room. Now, they are building hospitals at a rapid clip because they know there's going to be millions. Right now, they're building in 5 days time. They're going to have built in China with all these excavators working around the clock. I mean, you should see them. It's crazy. Looks like a bunch of ants from GPS and from a satellite, and then from the pictures above with drones. They are working to build a hospital that'll hold 1,000 beds. That's it. But they're going to build more, and they're going to have to probably use the same excavators to dig mass space for all the bodies you're going to be pulling out of there. Because understand what I'm saying, people. This is real. Those are people, okay? And I got 0 in the room, and I've got a comment. I just wanted to bring that up. So let's see here. Mass day, yeah. So here's what we got. They have called in the military at this point once they found out about this, but it's because the medical staff being sick, and also because there being so many in the hospital. The doctors are giving true numbers on Twitter. The true numbers are something like 10,800 average that have this disease, and if even 3% of those die, then that will show that 3% of 10,000 is 3,000. If you figure, I believe that's right. If you figure that in the amount of time that this virus even was born, from the time of its inception in December until now, which is January, you could call it February, you could say 2 months. Let's say that this virus has only existed on the planet for 2 months, right? In 2 months, this virus has killed more people than SARS did in 17 years. Now, SARS, where it was killing people, was a few years, but in 2 months, SARS killed something like 800 something people. This one already has those 10,000 something infected, and if 3,000 die, that is, what percentage more of SARS is that? Even if SARS was 1,000, it would be 300%. So it's about 325% or so more deadly. 325% more deadly in 3 months than SARS was for the entire reign of the disease. And they still have not got a cure for SARS, and they're not going to find one. And now they've got a place in Australia that, we're working around the clock. We're ramping up efforts. Yeah. This is freaking snake DNA. They have no clue how that even happens, and it can live in cold-blooded animals. This is going to live in dogs and cats. The birds would bring it over here. It's eventually going to come to the United States. Now, it's already in the United States. Grant me this part, even if I said it wasn't, is what my point is. Because in Washington, they are still searching for, I want to say it was 16 or 22 other people who had close contact with the guy that came over. The CDC is actually looking for those people. No, let's see. The CDC is looking for a total of 50 people in 22 states. Are y'all ready to process that? That they are already looking for 50 people who had contact with, I believe 22 was with the guy in Seattle. It could have been 50 there, in 22 states. So they're just walking around, and now they're saying that the new numbers are that if you the new numbers are that if you get the virus, that you could possibly keep it within your body for up to 2 weeks incubation period. That means for 2 weeks you could be on an airplane going back and forth, like a typhoid Mary, Look up Typhoid Mary. Okay, she gave typhoid to everybody. She swore up and down, no, and she was cooking for people. They actually put her in jail, then they let her out of jail. Then they said, you can't cook for nobody. She went back to cooking because it was the only job she knew. They put her in jail again. They banned her from ever cooking for anybody for the rest of her life. I think it was that New York? Somewhere up East Coast, somewhere. I don't know. Typhoid Mary, look it up. So she was spreading typhoid and killing people. Here's the thing. How do I got 5 likes and 1 in the room? You know what I'm saying? You know they lie. All right. So anyhow, I ought to take a picture of that. I seriously wanted. Okay. Here's the thing. Okay. In China right now, they have bodies that are piling up that have been there since this morning. Okay. These bodies have been there since this morning. This person is walking up to here with a person on a table to check them out. Okay. One was dead. Another person, this is the waiting room. This is not just a hallway or a dump site or something. This is the hallway to go into the rooms to be seen by a doctor. They died waiting to go see the doctor. So they were never tested or even counted as cases. And the people that are up here just past this, if you could watch the video, I'll put a link in here. It shows a video of living people waiting to see the doctor next to the dead people. So if you didn't have it when you went into the hospital, by the time you get here, you're going to have it. And guess what? These people already have it. And it's so bad that the nurses are saying, we expect them to die before they get into the room. Is everybody up to speed now? Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is that deadly at this point, and it's because there were 10,000 infected. They're all coming in, and now they're saying, now the other day they said that the beds were full, and they said they're getting them out as fast as they can. Yeah, they're getting the dead out as fast as they can. Okay, trying to remove them from the room so the next person can get in bed, the person that just died. Now, the Chinese sent the military in. Now, what do you think the military does? Military are trained to kill people and to get rid of problems. Okay. In this case, they're going to go in there. I don't know if they're going to poke them with bayonets and say, hey, are you dead? Because we got a truck leaving right now. We got to go bury some people. Oh, you okay? All right. I'll check with you in a minute. If you're still living, I'll leave you. If not, I'll be back in an hour to pick you up. You know what I'm saying? That's what the military does. It is what it is. So, like I said, I don't know if they're going in there poking them with bayonets or if they're going in there and making sure, hey, somebody bring us bodies. But the people who are waiting on the people, the staff is so stretched out that they can't even deal with the people coming in. They can't even test them. They can't even see them. So these people were never seen and they died waiting to be seen. And the people that are up here past this in the video are also waiting to be seen and also expected to die before they are seen. So true numbers from doctors on the ground in China are saying 10,800 or so are infected. They believe that's about the number, and that now, because it takes 2 weeks for the incubation period, I was saying 4 to 7 days because in some people it was people whose immune systems have an immunodeficiency are dying first. And actually people, even they're saying with heart problems or this or that have had previous problems. Okay, so they're wanting to say, oh, lots of people, over 60 to 80 are the ones that are dying. Well, that's fine if that's their story. The true numbers will come out because they won't be able to hide the bodies. Someone will be videoing the bodies. Okay, this is a town of 11 million people who just got told they're under quarantine. They got nothing better to do than put stuff up on the internet. It will get out just like this got out, whether they want it to or not. So I will put a link up to this. I tried to play it, but every time I hit it, it gives me nothing. Look, like I said, this device is no good for that. So I am going to go to a video, though, that they show, and they are building the 1,000-bed thing. Now, they're saying, last I was looking at, it was in Paris and all this other stuff. Let me see if I can scroll down my own Twitter page of all the stuff that I've compiled on there to bring it to you from Twitter. France has confirmed the first 2 cases of coronavirus in Europe. 2 in France. This was last night into today. Let's see. We are looking here. What is this here? Immune function is reduced by electromagnetic waves. Okay, I don't know about that. let's see. Well, that's just the thread for that one thing. I'm going to have to go back to my page on that. So while I do this real quick, okay, um, they are admitting to that the virus has killed 26 people and infected at least 830. The at least part is really 10,000, and it's going to take a bit for those people to basically die. Um, let's see here. There is a flu tracker thing for China that they've put up, and there's a map of it. If I can bring it up here, yeah. This is basically, this is what's going on in China at this point, as best as I can bring it to you from Twitter. Like I said, you should go on Twitter, but this is a map. So it's not contained to Wuhan. You understand? This is everywhere in China, and they're even saying they closed down part of the Great Wall of China, the border with Russia. I think Russia probably told them, hey, look, this is not right. This ain't good, and we don't want it. So, they shut down part of the Great Wall, probably a lot of it. They've quarantined, I want to say now at this point, I said that they were going to do 4. Last night it jumped to 8. Now I'm hearing 13 major cities in China that are under complete quarantine. So we're talking about at 11 million people in each city, even if you averaged it to 8 million people, because some are smaller, times 13, just say 8 times 10, just say 80,000 people are under quarantine. 80,000. Nearly 100,000. That's just my number. That's just off the top of my head. But these are all of the places where they are. Okay, and so this is actually a conservative map from earlier because it says 444 there. So this is about 2 days old. This map is. But there's a live map that somebody tried to send me. They didn't put it on the comment. Yeah, they can make it on the comment here. And I'm going to go back. I will, like I said, I will show a video, and I wanted to stay on this Twitter while I'm on this app before I go onto YouTube with this device. So staying with Twitter for just a second, because some of these posts are simply they're unbelievable. So like I said, they are building the 1,000-bed hospital in 5 days. They're going to need a lot more than that one. Their beds, they're claiming, because they're taking the dead people out and whatever, and sticking them in the hallway, and maybe they hadn't even checked them out yet, but they died in the bed. They're claiming that they are at something like, I think they said something like 60 or 70% capacity, and they're saying, hey, look, we can't get to 100. So that they don't get to 100, what they're doing is they're taking the dead people out and hurry up and putting somebody else in the bed, and some of them they're not even checking in. They're just dying in the hallway. Now, this is a website, if you want to check some of this stuff out too. They created a website for people to post stuff on also, stat, coronavirus stat. Okay, and this is put up by, it was actually retweeted by NCOV 2019. That is a website that you can go to, Stat News, that doctors are putting info up, and their colleagues are talking to them back and forth. Let's see what we got. The one that I wanted to talk about was some numbers here. I mean, they are going to run out of, I don't even think they're going to use coffins. I really think they're going to use those backhoes to dig ditches and probably have mass graves. That's the only thing that would make sense. And so we're on a few different countdowns. I'll go into that in a sec. There's a countdown to the virus mutating about 3 times, maybe 4. Before we get any kind of handle around it, and the death toll will go up exponentially each time for each different strand. There is a countdown to when it actually starts spreading in the U.S. and we have to go to quarantine. And then there'll be a countdown as to when our country will go into a quasi shutdown. Okay, just like theirs is. And because truckers won't be able to run between city to city, that's what we do. We are, highly engaged in interstate commerce. That's kind of what we do. So let's see what we got here, though. They're looking, CDC is looking for 50 people in 22 states, watching them, okay, investigating them, or whatever you want to call it. And that's from the WAPO Washington Post. Let's see. And we can't know the death toll because the people are dying before they get tested, and their bodies are lying in the aisle of the waiting areas, and those waiting are also expected to die, the people next to them. So let's see. China sends in military doctors to help fight the coronavirus. Um, they're saying the incubation period's up to 2 weeks. One case, this is one I wanted to bring up. You're not going to believe it. I'm just going to show it. You may not be able to read it. Maybe, yes, I guess you can read it. One case was advised to take, what they mean is get an abortion. There was a 28-year-old woman, you can read it, highly suspected of having it, delivering a baby. But then the doctor said when they had 2 more pregnant women, also in high suspected status, earlier this week, a confirmed case in Beijing was advised to take abortion, advised to get an abortion. And that's it in Chinese, because I don't read Chinese, but bless you if you do, and you're welcome to it. All right, let's see what we got here. So it was advised because she's not going to live trying to fight the disease if she doesn't kill her baby inside of her first. This guy shows how to properly put on a mask. I don't know if it'll play this one either. It's actually, nope, won't play. I'll have to put a link to that one too. He basically shows, he messes up a little bit, but he shows that, hey, once you take it off your face and put it on your neck, throw it away because you've got germs on your neck. So if you're wearing a mask, do not put it to your neck and then put it back to your face. Put it to your neck, you throw it away. You put your hands on the inside of it, you throw it away. Once it comes off, you throw it away. And squeeze it at the nose so it's tight. But either way, these are medical masks that go over the ears and stuff and down below your chin. You're supposed to pull it below your chin. Well, the problem with that is they don't get what's on the side that may come in, and it's going to be everywhere. It could get in probably through your eyes. They found that a lot of those people got the virus. 15 medical staff got it while they were treating a patient that they believed had it. So they were taking precaution, and yet they got it anyway. Let's see what we got here. Oh, call ahead to hospitals if you have been in affected areas or in contact with a contagious person before you go to the hospital. That way they'll be ready to take you when you get there. You call ahead. So if you are going to get help, you don't just walk into the emergency room, stand in line, wait. You call ahead. This is from our government, and that's from the U.S. Department of State. It ordered the departure of all non-emergency U.S. personnel and their family members from Hubei province. And in the lettering, it also said, in the lettering of this, it also said to call ahead if you go to a hospital. And that's that person I said to follow up top left. NC, let me move over to this side. NCOV 2019. That's one person to follow that's actually basically built a page on there just for doctors to share their medical knowledge, because there's no book on this. You understand, this is a new virus. They can't go look it up in the book. So for them to call another doctor, well, they're putting it up on Twitter, and it's a sounding board. They're using this as almost like a weather net, like I talked about for people ham radios. Let's see, the number of quarantine cities was up to 13 in China, and they closed 70,000 movie theaters. All of them, 70,000 as of yesterday. That was in one place. Well, they closed all of them in other cities too. So that's, who knows how many. They're not watching movies in China. They might be at home. So let's see here. This is where it consists of snake DNA. And they did a study, and the only people who did not believe it were people who were not involved with the peer review. Okay, so that's at lifescience.com. Like I said, you really ought to go on Twitter, people, if you want to know what's going on with this stuff. Let's see here. That's when human to human. The cases were now at 881. Oh, no, it closed all of the theaters, 70,000 Wuhan infection. Let's see. The official death toll rose to 25 from 18 overnight. Yeah, and by the way, this person that put up this page, is trying to keep up with it as best as they can. And it's just like me, it's moving so fast at such a rapid clip. You can't keep up with the number of infected cases and the deaths that they're even admitting to. So they're only going to update at 7 p.m. every day now. Okay, so 7 p.m. on that page is when they'll put an update just for the day, and it could change by the minute. And they're not counting the dead people that they're not even able to see yet, because they're like, why waste a test on a dead person, right? They kind of know. So, well, there you go. And they're too busy taking care of the semi-living, the people who are, listen, people, this is going to, this is a disease that it was born to kill. That's it. That's all there is to it. So you will live or you will die from it, but we will all likely get it because it's coming around. It's airborne, just like the flu. So this is a virologist, Guan is his name, who ID'd SARS. Okay, he helped ID SARS. He says, I've seen it all. Bird flu, SARS, influenza A, swine fever, and the rest. The Wuhan pneumonia makes me feel powerless. Most of the past epidemics were controllable, but this time I am petrified. That was from the Washington Post. I'm going to put that right here and you can read that too. I was sounding the alarm from the first minute because I knew of what it was. I thought we had 6 to a year before it would even be able to start spreading or get to the U.S. I thought we had more time, people, but I was still trying to sound the alarm saying they needed to do quarantine. I was hashtagging quarantine everywhere. I was putting people that would be in charge of it. So you can read that. You can screenshot it. NCOV 2019, whoever that person is. They put up everything, and it's a sounding board and doctors post there, and then they read each other's reports and stuff. Let's see here. This was Wuhan quarantine expands as Chinese fear authorities not telling them the true numbers, and that's from Washington Post. So look, the Washington Post even says that people are saying that they're not giving the true numbers, but it says not telling. If I click on it, it might go further into it. I may not be able to get the link. Let me see what I can do about getting that link so I can show you where they say it on the Washington Post. It may not let me. Like I said, this device is semi-retired. This thing's pretty old. I don't know if it'll do it. I'll just go back. No, it won't do it. Okay, so anyhow, it's from the Washington Post, and the rest of the not telling part is not telling the true numbers of infected. Let's see here. That's where that doctor put that, and I put it up like 4 times. I didn't care. I blew up the wall on Twitter. I figure at some point they're gonna put me in Twitmo. I'm telling you, they're gonna kick me off Twitter for the shit I've done with this. They're gonna put me in Twitmo for real. Everybody else is getting kicked off for other reasons. I think I'll get kicked off for telling the truth. So no worries. I don't care. Twitter means nothing to me. YouTube it means something to me, but the truth is, I could go from YouTube over to DLive or the other ones that everybody else is running to. It doesn't matter. I'll find a platform and I will put up the truth. So let's see here. All isolation wards are full in Wuhan. Healthcare workers have been infected. Yeah, see, that's the thing. They're turning beds by taking the dead people out, chunking them in the hallway, and hurried up and putting somebody else in there so that they don't say that the beds are full, but so that the people, but they're not even able to take care of all the people in the hallway. So they're infected in the hallway with dead people who are still reinfecting the whole area, because what's the last gasp that you do? It comes out of your body. Then the bacteria in your body starts doing stuff, and they've even actually dug up people. This is going to sound morbid, so if you can't deal with stuff, you can turn your volume down now. The reason that people believed in vampires a long time ago is there was a certain disease that people died of. Maybe it was TB, I'm not sure. And the grave robbers would sometimes dig up corpses, and sometimes they would sell them to people who were learning how to work on bodies and be doctors. So they sold them to medical institutions underground. Actually, I believe it was Nostradamus, Michel de Nostradamus, that was working on them also, but it was against the church for you to cut open a body, but he was learning about it. So he probably bought a few. But the thing is, the reason that they believe that in vampires is because when they would take them out of the coffin and out of the ground, and they would see the body, their lips would move a little, like they said that they were wanting blood. Well, what it was is the gases that were inside of their stomach and body were still letting out air, and when bacteria grows, it creates a air bubble, and it made their lips move. So this is what's going on, where these people are dead in the hallway. This virus is with inside of them, and so they could be infecting the whole hallway. So whether you die or not, you're in a very bad situation, because that's not a negative pressure hallway. That's just a hallway with dead people, and so the virus is all through the hallway. That's why these medical workers are scared, especially if they're not in full suits, and that's why people are dying. Okay, now I've got a low battery, so if it kicks out, whatever, I could care less. I'll come back with it. But let's see, dialogue with frontline medical staff. See, this is where it says flu trackers say that all isolation units are full. Okay, all the beds are full. Okay, but then the government over there got mad about that. All isolation wards are full. The wards are full. Okay, and the colleagues affected. But the thing is, because the government got mad about them being full, they're like, well, get them out of there and get the dead out of there and all that stuff. But they were putting the dead in the hallway and put the other one in there. But there's some other people, a lot of them that died, that were dead, were already in the hallway dead, waiting to get seen. Then the other ones are going to die. They know before they're seen. They already know they're going to die. And so they're just letting them sit there. And then the ones that they take out of the bed, they take them out. So all the other ones died. Oh, look, we got nobody to see, so we've still got empty beds. So they're making it like that. But they're saying that since this morning, those bodies have been in the hallway and no one's had anything to do about coming to get them. They're like, nobody's doing nothing about these dead bodies. They need to come and get them. So the military got involved. And I don't know if they're just there to pick up the bodies, but they are medical medics. Army Chinese medics have been sent to help. So I don't know what they're doing. They can't do anything for the people except put them in a bed. So I don't know if they're putting cots in the rooms. I don't know if they're carrying the dead bodies out for them, but they weren't there, and they'd been there all day. And so let's see here. Yeah, let's see. Imagine going to a hospital and them saying, well, you're going to die right there. Just die right there on the, I don't know, the front lawn, the porch. What are you going to do? But what I was saying is that it will get here eventually, even if they quarantine, if they can't let the virus die out before it gets back into animals, because birds migrate and birds could get this flu. Man, if it has any DNA for fish, but I know that it has the reptile DNA, but it's also got the bat DNA. So birds could bring it here. It could come over on mosquitoes, in tires, in a container ship. That's just out of that. That's how we got mosquitoes in Florida. Okay, and that's how we wound up with the Asian tiger mosquito in the United States. We didn't used to have that. There's just an example. And if it bit someone with something, then it could turn around and bite you, and you would get that. That's how malaria is. Any bloodborne disease can be transmitted by mosquito. So mosquitoes could bring it here. Ticks could bring it here. They got the Lyme disease problem, which some people say it's by design from the Nazis that were working on that mess. Who knows? Let's see. We are documenting what's going on in blocked off cities in China. If you have any videos, data, that's at Flu Trackers. Yeah. So Flu Trackers is another person that's covering it, because see, they have better intel than I do. So go to flutrackers.com. Okay. And they keep their sources 100% protected, but they're saying if you're in China that you want to give information or video to them, you can send it to them, and then they will tell the data or video or personal experiences. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Insufficient drugs in the hospitals. Okay, so on the evening of 1/23, fever patients were still waiting inside and outside. Those are the dead ones I just showed you, I'm sure. Inside and outside the hospital, and news of insufficient drugs continue to be heard in the hospital. And see, they have to change the sheets. I'm sure they're running out of sheets. The place is on quarantine, and they're probably running out of masks, even though they were giving them out. So if they keep wearing their masks day to day, it's probably got virus on the outside of it. It's probably doing them no good. It may even be spreading the disease. You get what I'm saying? Because really the masks are able to keep the disease in your mask so you don't give them to other people, give the disease to other people. That's what really the purpose of that during a quarantine, or if someone's in a hospital, why they'd be wearing it. A lot of people that get chemotherapy, they wear it so they don't get radiation on other people and they don't get sick from it. And there you go. Or if you had like smallpox or any of the poxes, really. Let's see, a total number of cities in China locked down now up to 8. Well, that was earlier. It's already at 13. So I'm gonna scroll up. Oh yeah, Texas, the suspected coronavirus case in Texas that they're looking at, but they said 22 cities. Italy, there's a suspected, or I think they already confirmed, like I said, 2 of them in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so I'm gonna give you a video real quick to watch, and if you have any of those, the live virus map, someone was going to put it up as a comment, and he said to put it up on a comment on one of my community things. I just have to look at it. So, and I've got 2 bells, I got probably people sharing my stuff here. So if I can go into this real quick, give me a second here. I'm actually going to put this up. So if you bear with me for 1 second, people. Put that there. I have to save some of these links for later too. So everybody's sharing stuff on Twitter. Twitter's blowing up with the coronavirus thing. Those are the hashtags, and I'm fixing to get into a video, and I will show you what they're saying. It's bad. We're on, like I said, we're all on a ticking time bomb, basically a countdown to not necessarily extinction, but a countdown to infection, because we're all going to get it. I'll guarantee you that. And it's not going to maybe give you pneumonia or maybe not. The pneumonia is the disease. It will grow inside your lungs, and you'll feel like you're dying, like you got water in your lungs, like I felt like a long time ago. So, not a memorable experience to look back on with, thinking of good times, but it is something that you will definitely remember forever, and it'll change you. And this one's gonna damage your lungs, and probably irreparably. Let's see what we got here. Okay, if I can go back to where I was, and I will show this video. So I appreciate you people showing up, by the way. And this is where they are digging like crazy to build a 1,000 bed all those track hose. It's called a track hoe. Trying to zoom in a bit. That's difficult to do, right? Here, let me just move it over. And I'll play it again because I've messed it up a bit. All right. Hold tight. Let me cancel that one out. And I want to replay it. Rush to build a hospital in Wuhan is what it says. They're going to build a 1,000-bed hospital in 5 days. That's pretty fast. So the military, I mean, these are just workers, but the military is actually going in there, and you see there's so many trucks on the highway. I mean, So the other one here, it's not going to be enough. They're going to have to build 4 or 5 of those, and then one place they're probably going to need a crematorium in the back of it or something, because they're not going to have a place to put all the bodies. Even if they did a mass grave, 11 million people, 3% will go to 10% really quickly of a death rate, and then it will go maybe 70 to 80% death rate on the 3rd phase. I think maybe the first 2 phases people will have some kind of immunity to it. This is believe it or not, Al Jazeera, because sometimes they do cover stuff. And I heard there was one in Saudi Arabia.
Coronavirus outbreak, but people abroad have already been affected. So, are these or is the world witnessing the start of a global epidemic? This is Inside Story.
Yeah, it's a pandemic. They need to use the right word. It's all across every continent. It's going to be. Russia ain't even talking. I think they shut down their border.
Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mohammed Jamjoum. China's reporting people with coronavirus outside the epicenter of the outbreak have now died. This as health authorities fear around the world the infection rate could increase during what's usually China's busiest travel period of the year. Hundreds of millions of Chinese are preparing to celebrate the Lunar New Year, although Beijing has canceled all public celebrations. And as the death toll rises, more countries are taking their own precautions. Scott Heidler has more.
The death toll rises. They haven't even told about the ones in the hallway.
For the Lunar New Year, many of these passengers at the Beijing railway station are thinking of the coronavirus.
People are outside dying.
I don't think this virus has been properly controlled.
That's how you wear a mask.
I just came back to
Below your
China.
chin.
I read a lot of news on the internet. I'm
Blue
not
on the
very
outside.
satisfied with how
White
the
on the
government
inside.
prevented and controlled the disease. I'm very afraid of getting infected.
I am really afraid of
Put your mask on.
Who
Look at this, dude.
and left Wuhan. But I do hope the situation in Wuhan can be improved soon.
He'll
And
be one of
those
the bodies.
inside the city of Wuhan are becoming more frustrated because medical supplies
But even
are
that
running
mask
short
getting
and
foolproof
hospitals are
because
short
the
staff.
staff got it.
Many festivals for the
From
Lunar
one
New Year
guy,
holiday
15.
have been canceled across China. And not just in the central Hubei province, the epicenter of the virus.
In a rare move, the government has closed the Forbidden City here in Beijing over health concerns related to the coronavirus.
They
Something
forbid
they
you
didn't
to
do
go
some
to the
17
Forbidden
years
City.
ago during the SARS
Anybody
crisis.
pick up the irony in that?
The Chinese government
You're
was
forbidden to go
criticized
to the
for the way it
Forbidden
handled
City.
the SARS virus back in 2003, mainly for its lack of transparency. The World Health Organization has
Lack of
decided
transparency.
not to declare the current outbreak a global health emergency. But there's growing concern over the coming week when the millions of people who have traveled for the holiday return. Again, raising the risk the virus may be
Hundreds of
spread
millions.
further by people who are contaminated but have yet to show symptom. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera.
It's
Beijing.
hundreds of millions of people that are traveling.
In a moment, we'll bring in our panel, but first, let's speak to Tarek Yasharovich from the World Health Organization in Geneva. Tarek, the WHO
let me say
said
something,
it was
by the
too
way.
early.
He's not going to tell you anything, and I'll let him talk in a second, but there's a reason I'm going to put this on pause. The World Health Organization, in case you can't see it, I will move this over a bit. The World Health Organization has already convened 3 times. They decided not to make it an emergency. They are so scared to use the power that they wield that China's already willing to do. They're willingly shutting down their own to shut this down to make this happen. That at this point, this is the answer from the World Health Organization. I can go ahead and give you their answer. Are you ready for this? Their answer is, just like I put up on Twitter, their answer is, after you have eaten the Wuhan chicken, once you have the Wuhan chicken, make sure that you open your fortune cookie and see what it says. That's their advice on this at this point, because they're giving you nothing. So make sure you check your fortune cookies, people, because that's where you're going to find out the news that they
Consider
want you
this
to have.
outbreak a public health
keep you
emergency
safe.
of international concern. Why? Well, what are the reasons for that decision, and what would have to happen for it to become a global health emergency?
Well, as we
Everybody will have to die.
said yesterday in a press
They need
conference
death numbers.
following the meeting, there were different opinions that have been expressed at the meeting of the emergency committee. And Director General of the WHO was very clear when he said that this is clearly an emergency in China and there is a high risk of further spread. He may reconvene the meeting of the emergency committee at a very short notice as the situation develops further.
China has locked down numerous cities in their response so far to this outbreak. What is the WHO's stance on that? And does the WHO believe that that is an appropriate or effective containment measure?
Well, the role of WHO is to provide science-based recommendations and opinion to our countries. Every country obviously has the right to introduce measures that they think are necessary on their territory. We hope that these measures will be effective. And that's important to say that what is important when you have an outbreak of a new virus, you have to have containment measures and mitigation measures, meaning providing help to those who fall sick, and containment.
Guy up front, no mask.
Trying to reduce the risk
Lady
of a
took her mask off.
Different measures can be introduced to do that, to try to at least slow down the disease. What is really important is that health systems are on alert around the world, as China has already put in place.
I'm going to say something real quick. A couple of things, and I got to show that picture to do it.
Providing help to those who fall sick. And
that guy don't have the mask on. That lady ain't got her mask on. I know you saw that, but I'm gonna show this one here, the one sleeping, just to make a point.
Slow down the disease. What is really
and
important
we'll talk about what he's saying.
Health systems are on alert.
Check this out, people. Okay, that mask will work better if you're a man and you shave. I used to run tankers. I was offloading chemicals. That was some nasty stuff. And they will fire you if you don't shave. You have to be clean shaven to get a good seal around your face. Those weren't the masks I was wearing. I was wearing a plastic one that had a chemical charged, the disc on it was it filtered out chemicals at the smallest nanoparticulate. Okay, you're going to need one that is biological. To start with, this is better than the paper masks that you're going to see at the dollar store, but even the ones at the dollar store might help. Okay, they're not going to be as good a seal as that one. That one's next. A t-shirt is the lowest thing you'd use. That one's next. Then above that would be one that has a seal that's even just a dust mask from Home Depot. But you really want to get a biological filter. There's one Chinese woman who I have a picture that I will put up later. I'll put it up on this with some kind of a mask that was leather that had a charged canister on it that made her look like Raiden. I don't know, off of Mortal Kombat. So Raiden is in there telling what's going on in the news. The point is, if you can get a rubber type, silicone type one that seals around, but if you're a man, make sure you shave if you want to live, because it will seal up around your cheeks. Okay. They would allow no beards, but I think they allowed a mustache, but I didn't have one. But the point is, even a goatee, you're running a risk if you don't have a good seal, and you want to have the right filter. And really, a dust mask from Home Depot really is not even the right filter. I'll be honest with you. It'd be helpful maybe, but you want to get something that's rated for this. And truthfully, your eyes need to be protected too, better than just those glasses. You need some that create a seal. And at that point, anything your hands touch, you got to wash your hands all the way up to your wrists carry some antibacterial soap, and also some of that Germ-X stuff that is just a germ killer. So having said that, that's to protect yourself. Back to what that guy was saying with what the World Health Organization is doing. They just want to see dead people and dead numbers so that they can deal with numbers. They're so scared to encroach on a country because once they put in a rule, then they're the ones that has to go back in and check and say, okay, now it's okay to let people go back to their homes and their jobs and this. And that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, I think that Wuhan is a foregone conclusion. So I'm just going to go further. I'll let him speak.
Around the world, as China has already put in place.
Hope that helped you about the mask, and you got to pinch above the nose so that it'll
being
seal.
Able to test them and diagnose them, and being able to treat them. It is also important to provide right information to the population.
And that temperature thing, for them to test your temperature, okay, that's a non-contact thermometer, what I use on tires. Those are not going to pick up this virus because it is in its incubation period, and that's how it's getting everywhere. The guy to Seattle took a plane. The guy to France, or I think it was it a woman? Anyhow, the woman in Chicago, who's an older woman, she took a plane. It didn't set off any sensors, just not going to. I think it stayed within her for, I think it was 2 weeks. I think she left like a while back and got it and brought it here. But they said because she wasn't in the public, she was not as big a risk as what she could have been, and she was not in any public gatherings in Chicago. So don't freak out if you're in Chicago that they're saying this is just what they're saying, if you believe them, and I kind of do on this case. However, the guy in Seattle, I think he was the one that contacted almost all of the 50 people in the 22 states that they're looking for. In 22 states in the United States, they were watching people, so that they were in contact with someone or from that area. Now, the guy in Seattle was in contact with either 16 or 22. I believe it was 22. So out of the 50, this guy in Seattle who didn't go to the doctor for a couple of days and was just, trumping around, that's bad stuff. So not exactly a super spreader, but maybe you could call it that. They're looking for them is what they're going to, investigate. So we'll go a little further.
Difficult sometimes to strike the balance between the benefit for the population of some containment measures and some social disruption. So I think each country, based on their context, will decide what measures are needed.
Since you're speaking about measures, the WHO warned the public not to underestimate the severity of this epidemic. Could you speak to specific measures that people can take to try to protect themselves going forward?
Exactly. So I mentioned what health systems should do, what health officials should do. They should be on alert. They should raise preparedness levels in the health facilities, being equipped and be able to provide assistance to those who are sick. Now,
feel
for the
vigilant.
General
Keep the levels down.
There's still much of unknown about the virus itself.
Let the sheep keep working and not worry about it.
Coronavirus, so it is causing respiratory illness. So we recommend
those are people working on
always
something.
Recommended for respiratory illnesses. That is.
I'm gonna say something too. I want you to understand, people. I mean no disrespect towards the people of China. I have the utmost respect for them, especially the ones that are in Wuhan, simply for the fact that they, even though that disease came from that area, they did not ask for that. It just happened that way. Even though they weren't supposed to have the civet cat anymore, it's supposed to be outlawed. This was from a snake, so don't worry. That's not the problem anyways, but they did find it. They need to change what they eat, however, and how they market it. However, those people have my utmost respect because they know that they are in a grave danger and a higher rate of fatality because they're in that city where the epicenter was. They're staying there like they're supposed to. And the Chinese government has basically told them in a very Chinese way that they'll probably be killed if they try to break the law. Now, the way they said this was, and I'll have to look this up, that a strong hand should hold back the weak wrist, which I think means if you see somebody trying to escape, you grab them and don't let them. Okay? So I'm telling you, these people are under threat of death for talking much about it, but also for leaving. If you don't toe the line, you get disappeared, and there are these encampments, these places where they take them, and they don't treat them so well. And it's not a prison, it's worse. Okay, they've said that they chain them up with their arms behind their backs and lift them up with that chain, and they're bent over, throwing up, and they keep them there for years. Beat them, treat them bad, hang them like that, and if you fall forward, it'll break your shoulder blades. Do you understand what I'm saying, people? This is upon penalty of death or worse. These people are told to stay there. So I have the most respect for the people who are getting word out about the true numbers against their possibility of being in trouble. I've got a lot of respect for the people that are there who are fighting this battle and taking the brunt of it under quarantine for us. So I'm hoping that it stops at the wall, at the Chinese wall. I'm hoping not too many people die, but they know where they're at is number one bad. So don't take this the wrong way. And it's easy to joke about things now, but when we all have it, and we probably will, because it's going to move just like the regular cold virus, okay? You're not going to be immune to it at all. It's a new virus. It's never happened before. We will understand that what they had to go through. Now, so we're on a countdown to the infection in the United States. We're on a countdown also, first a countdown to when the virus will multiply for the next 2 times. Mutate the next 2 times, and then it will be exponential. The death rate will be higher for that strain because it will be stronger, okay? Each strain. It'll go from 3% to probably 10% to maybe upwards of 60 to even 80 or 90%. This is something we've never had before. Okay, this is worse than, I believe this is much worse even than, I'm going to say this. Listen, people, I think this is worse than the Spanish flu. That doctor said other things are treatable. He has seen the Spanish flu. They've seen it in a petri dish. They've grown it. I said that they scraped it up out of the wax of the World War One barracks that they had waxed over the floors, and they dug it up, and it was still viable and still living. I know this is a horrible screen. I'll play it just a second to get a different view.
Covering mouth when sneezing and coughing. Avoid.
The point is that it's coming here, and they've seen it, and that doctor said this is the worst he's ever seen. He feels powerless, and there's nothing they can do. So it's going to have to run its course. It will be just like the cold. The human cold has been since probably the beginning of time. They actually dug up the Antarctic and started doing ice cores, and they found viruses they never seen before, and they're scared that when it melts that they might come back to life because they were living. So understand, though, that this one, though, like the common cold, has been around forever because of the way it spreads. This spreads airborne like the common cold. However, what it does is it is I guess you call it a pathogen or a virus that attacks your lungs. It is not the cold. It does not cause pneumonia. It inherently is pneumonia. It causes these vestibules or whatever in your lungs, whatever it does to your lungs, it infects them. Water fills up there. If you ain't got oxygen treatment, you're going to die in the hallway just like those people, and you won't even be counted. And then they'll have to burn you. They ran out of caskets when they had the Spanish flu. We will probably have that same problem. I think that Wuhan ain't going to have 11 million caskets, okay? I personally I think it'd be like Popcorn Sutton. He built a casket for himself out of wood, and they wouldn't use it because it wasn't up to code or whatever. I think you might do good to build your own, and then they might cremate you anyway. You never know what's going to happen. All I'm going to say is this stuff will make you feel like you're going to die if you don't die from it, and it will damage your lungs for the rest of your life. So I'm going to go further. I'll play some more here.
Contact with a person who is sick with the flu-like symptoms, avoiding contact with the animals in the market, and really for
it's too late. It's out of the market. It's out of the animals.
They should really first go and see their doctors so they can be diagnosed. So really,
this was a one-off from a snake.
Try really to help
those animals don't have this.
The health system, because
they
what
don't
may
kill
happen
those
as
animals.
well, that a lot of people, because of this outbreak, will rush to the hospitals, even though they may not.
Let me tell you something else too. I want to bring this up again because I will again bring this up. It's the same market that SARS came from that they reopened. I don't know if they'll ever reopen that after this one, because this one's going to be global and kill a lot, probably 3 million people or more. Just at 3%, be 3 million, and it's going to do it quicker than the Spanish flu. So I'm going to say this. If you look at the numbers and look at what it really is and what it's doing, okay, they have had MERS. Okay, MERS came from camels, infected people over in like Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia has a case of this, is what I was told. But this guy on a plane went over there. They may have him. They might have just threw him off a building. They don't play over there. Who knows? But they had MERS over in that area in the Middle East. I'm not going to say necessarily Saudi Arabia. It could be Iraq, Iran. They had MERS, which was from camels. Okay. Now, they had SARS that came from civet cats that were transmitted blood to from bats. They did a DNA profile of it. It's bat DNA and civet cat. It looks like a weasel, something like that, or a ferret. Okay? Now, people eat them over there. They'll eat anything. They sell rats in that market. They sell chickens. They sell fish. They're not supposed to sell all that stuff. They're supposed to be just a fish market. But people, their grandmothers liked the way it tasted, and then they liked the way it tasted from their grandmother, and then they want to have a rat every once in a while, or a snake, or a civet cat. Well, SARS was from civet cats, okay? And they have had that for 17 years. I want you to get this perspective in your head. They had 17 years to try to find a inoculation process or an eradication process in any type of manner. Something that kills SARS, and they come up with donuts. 0. There is no cure for SARS, and they've had 17 years to work on it. This is a faster moving virus than SARS. Okay? People, this is real. This is not a test. I think in 6 months, be over half the United States. I think in a year to be the rest of the United States. That's where I'm at. People who die are going to be already dead, and they are not going to come up with a cure for this in a year if they couldn't come up with a cure for SARS in 17 years. There will be no vaccine for SARS. They've had 17 years to work on it. There will be no vaccine for MERS. They've had 17 years to work on it. This came from reptile DNA, is what they found in it. It's the only thing it looks like. There will be no cure for this. They don't even understand how it went from a warm-blooded animal, which was the bat, and survived inside of a cold-blooded animal, mixed with the disease that the snake had, and that flu-type disease that snakes have inside of them. And then the person ate a undercooked snake, and it went into whatever type of flu he had in his body, and it mutated with it. So it was the perfect storm. The bat had a sickness. The snake had a sickness, and the person had a sickness, whether it was active or not within their body, that one can mutate in with and also bond with the DNA of the person and the snake. And so it went from a warm-blooded animal to a cold-blooded animal, which it should have died, but no, it survived. This is a surviving bug. You got to give it credit. Then it went to a warm-blooded animal again and prospered again. Now, this is its infantile stages. This just came out. So it will, listen to me, it will mutate 2 times, just like Spanish flu. And the Spanish flu came from a farmer in Texas. He had animals together. They had a problem, and it went into a person. Now, understand something. And they've got it at the CDC in Atlanta, and they can test it all they want to. They have had since 1918 to find a cure for the Spanish flu, which is also a coronavirus. Anybody want to know if they have a cure for it? I can tell you they don't. I can tell you they have a type of thing that they think might work against it, but it's not a cure, and there is no vaccine. Have you ever taken your kids or yourself or anybody you know to go to the hospital and say, hey, I want to go ahead and get my shots updated. I need that Spanish flu inoculation. Can you give me that? Do you have that in stock? Okay. So they've had since 1918. It is now 2020. So, and keep this in mind too. Are you ready for this, people? There was a deadly virus, the 1918 Spanish flu, was prevalent in 1920. There was also a disease in 1820. It is now 2020. Is the irony lost on anyone that there was a deadly virus, a plague going around in 1820? Then there was another one in 1920. Then there was another one in 2020. And if you want to talk about the Black Plague, we can go back that far. Okay? So if you've ever seen those weird masks that look like somebody's dressing up for something, and it goes on their face and has a beak on it that goes way out, and they put flowers, posies in the end of them so they don't smell the dead people. And it makes you look like a raven. Those are gas masks. That's not a Halloween costume. Okay? I'll put a picture up of one on my community at some point. The point is this. In the past, since 1820, they don't have a cure for that. They don't have a cure for the one in 1920, okay? They won't have one for 2020. They didn't have one for SARS. There is no cure. There will be no cure. You will get this virus. It's coming, just like the common cold. Expect it. It's a matter of time. If we can hedge it off, if we can possibly quarantine it enough for it to die, that would be great. I just don't see it happening because I think the mosquitoes and everything else is going to have it, and the birds are going to have it. I think it's a little too late. I think the cat's out of the bag. Now, we may be able to stop it from the people who've flown to France and these places. China, I think, is a foregone conclusion. I think it will be similar to if someone had the West Nile virus. Well, it's like, hey, the West Nile. I don't live in the West Nile. You won't get the West Nile virus, right? Okay. In the U.S., we have inoculations that say, okay, you have to have measles, mumps, rubella, MMR, okay, as a child. You'll have booster shots as you need for whatever. All right, here's the thing. You're going to have MMR, okay, DT, which is diphtheria, tetanus, okay. If you step on a nail, okay, got diphtheria, tetanus. Or you will get a disease within you, and once your jaw locks up and you can't open your jaw, you better run to the hospital because you're about to die. They can probably save you, but that's the line. Any rusty cut, rusty nail, rusty hammer, rusty anything that cuts your skin, rust inside of you, okay? So it causes diphtheria, tetanus. It's an infection. It just happens. Nobody can help it. Rust makes it. Okay. So once you get that into your head, if you wanted to fly to Germany or to a place like Israel or a place like, I don't know, Iraq, anywhere, there are certain diseases that are inherently to that area, like the West Nile virus, that you will have to get. I don't think they have an inoculation for that, but you will have to get a shot that will make you immune to diseases. I think one's put in a sugar cube, kind of like that other inoculation. Anyhow, the point of that was polio. They put a bunch of. They used to have a star that would go in your arm. If you look at your grandmother's arm or grandfather's arm, they'll have like a spot on their outside of their arm. Okay, and it's a polio vaccine, but it's also a whole bunch of other shots all at once, and it made a scar. It scarred the tissue. It punched. They give you like freaking 10 needles at once, right? It's a circle with those in them. So once you understand that that was included was the polio, but now you don't have to have polio, you can go further and say, oh, polio's been eradicated, right? So you don't need it. Now, there are diseases in other countries, though, that even though you have your other shots that don't leave scars now, you have to get a shot before you can get it on the plane. And there are people from other countries that have to get a shot before they come here. It's so they don't die and so they don't bring diseases with them. Okay? Now, a TB shot is a test. They put it in your arm, and if you've been around anyone who's had tuberculosis, TB, or if you have tuberculosis, within a few days, it will make a big bump show up. That could mean you have the disease, or it could mean you've been around somebody with the disease. TB is no joke. There is antibiotic resistant tuberculosis that you could die from. Okay? They don't want you in public with that. They don't want you in the United States with that. Okay? That's how we're keeping TB at bay. All right. Once you understand all these things that I'm telling you, okay? Okay. We can possibly not get this virus if we can make these people be quarantined that are in the United States, stop getting people in on airline flights, stop taking flights that have not been completely medically cleaned, okay, homogenized, steamed, something, so that bleached out with rags, so this does not spread. The only way to stop this virus is quarantine. And then don't go to those countries unless you had prior knowledge of that, hey, when you come back, you should be put in a room for 14 days to see if you are a carrier of a disease. Now, that being said, again, I'm going to mention this. Look up Typhoid Mary, because when they thought typhoid fever was gone and all this stuff, they still had a woman who was cooking for people. They were trying to figure out where it was coming from. She was killing a lot of people with her cooking. It was because she had typhoid, but she was not a person who had the disease that was in an incubation period. She was a person that it did not kill, but she was a carrier. It was inherently within her, and it wasn't killing her, but she was spreading it. Okay? So we could have people like that. The only way we're going to beat this is to treat it like the West Nile virus. If you ain't in the West Nile, you're not going to get it. The only way we can do this is to shut off our borders between us and China until China is, everybody in there who's ever had it is past the 14-day inoculation period, and they don't believe that there's any super carriers, but also any Typhoid Marys among them. This is what I'm saying, because this guy here with the job is not telling you that. Do you understand why I'm putting the information out now, people? I hope you're following along. This is the home game. Everybody can play along. Get a mask. Tell your government to shut down all types of travel between us and China. And let's see what happens and let it play out there. But I said I got respect for these people for what they're having to go through. They're taking the brunt of this for us. Hopefully, it will not be for nil or for nothing. Hopefully, it will be for good reason, because we'll say, nope, we're going to stop it right here. No more flights to China. Let's chill. Give us a few weeks. We'll trade with you. We like you people. But it's going to be on a basis where we know it's going to be hermetically sealed containers that come from wherever, and we will run them through some kind of process that will kill. You can smoke this stuff out. There's got to be a way that they could do it offshore somewhere and then bring it in, an Ellis Island effect, if you will. I've been telling this about Ellis Island. They used to put people there who had different diseases, especially TB, so they didn't come to the United States. First, they had to be there. Sometimes they'd keep them there. Sometimes they'd send them back. And it was so that diseases wouldn't come to the United States and the whole United States wouldn't die. It's a matter of national security. It is a clear and present danger. And this guy does not understand that because he does not understand the protocol and he does not understand a military quarantine. We need a military quarantine, not a quasi quarantine, not this so hey, but if you have special permit or if you're somebody's cousin, you can leave the city or what. I'm telling you that they are going to run out of coffins before they run out of excuses. I'm gonna play this. I'm getting hot here. I'm getting on a tangent.
Respiratory illness symptoms.
Tariq, do we know yet the actual extent of human-to-human
This is
transmission
serious,
rate?
people. This is
But
life
we
and
know
death.
that there is a human-to-human transmission, and this is consistent with the coronaviruses in general, as we have seen with SARS, with MERS, and with other coronaviruses.
He was
this
wrong.
Means,
Coronaviruses do not have inherently within them and in general human-to-human transmission. Only coronaviruses that have mutated into people. There's always going to be a coronavirus. There's always a coronavirus that is inherently within bats. There's always one that's inherently within civet cat. There's always one that's inherently within all kinds of different animals, and they are all different. The problem is this strain went into a sick or a snake that had DNA that was able to even though it was being kept at bay, the disease within a snake was able to put its DNA marker on it, and then people got it from there. Okay, so it's not always that coronaviruses will infect people. They've been around for a long, long time. It's when you put one animal that in the wild doesn't usually hang out with another animal next to another animal that in the wild doesn't usually hang out together. Very similar to when they brought the sickness over that killed 95% of the Cherokee, and when they killed the people with the flu, and the Spanish conquistadors brought their diseases. Very similar. You don't put dogs and raccoons together. Think of it similar to, think of it like rabies, okay? If you know a species has rabies, you watch that species, but you don't put your dog next to it all the time. Because why? Because your dog can get rabies and die. Why would the dog die of rabies? Because it's not used to it. Even really truthfully, the raccoon could die also, okay? In the wintertime, it usually kills those things off, which is why we hunt deer in the wintertime. Is everybody on board? In the summertime, you run the risk of deer meat having rabies in it, okay? So, especially if they're by the road and they're not scared by cars, means that they may be out of their mind, okay? Foxes get it a lot, that kind of thing. So, going further, but this guy was wrong. Inherently within coronaviruses, it is not to inherently move from human to human. It has to be the perfect storm, this bad bacterial soup that they want to call Wuhan market, okay? So with Wuhan snakes and...
That there is a human-to-human transmission among close contacts. So we have no really clear evidence of sustained human-to-human transmission.
This is a new
although
disease.
There are some indications
because
that
it
the
changed
virus,
into
the
a new
virus,
disease.
has
It's three
infected,
diseases in one.
From the infected person to another
Trifecta
one, so second
of
generation.
death.
But again, so far we see clusters, but we really have to look at it. We have to look at the data. We are still at the early stage, so we know about coronaviruses in general, but we have to get into the data and try really to understand better. And
let me say something too. At an early stage, you've had 17 years to kill the SARS virus, and you've come up with nothing. So don't give us early stage. This is a new disease, yes. However, you don't stand a chance in hell of doing anything except for maybe getting a tie and buttoning up your shirt the rest of the way and looking a little bit better on TV between now and the time that everybody dies. That's where I'm at on that one. Nothing against the dude. I'm just saying he's doing nothing to help you, and we're gonna get out of this video.
Really for
He's
the
fixing to lose
severity of the virus.
our time
people
here.
have mild symptoms. Some people have severe symptoms. We still don't know if there are asymptomatic cases. We have noticed that the majority of people who get sick are older people. And those who eventually died, most of them had underlying health conditions. But again, it's really too early to draw conclusions because we need really to look more. We need to do more testing and more studies to be able to understand. But as we do these studies to understand the virus, we need to be ready to help those who will fall sick and make sure that all measures are being put in place to reduce the risk.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Tariq. We can now speak to our other guests. In Hong Kong, we have Nicholas Thomas. He's an associate professor at City University of Hong Kong and specializes
I really don't
in
want to
Asian
go
health
with this.
security. And in London,
they specialize in talking about things. They're paid well to not cure the virus that's going to kill everyone. So, let's see here. How to prepare for the great pandemic. Yeah, this is they're using my word now, pandemic. It is. Once it's across different countries. Coronavirus is more than what you think here. I had another thing that I was actually going to put up, and let's see what I can't find. And I will have to get off this thing in a sec because I got stuff going on. But people, I'm just trying to bring you the truth about this. Go on Twitter if you want to know the updates. And this is saying Fox Business race to contain, and this is will it spread to the U.S. 5 hours ago. Y'all are okay. Today, y'all are a little bit late because it's already spread to the U.S. But we've just got to stop them.
But first, of course, the big stories, the coronavirus fears that are now hitting the United States. The CDC confirming a second U.S. case in Illinois, reports possibly of a third case. We just don't know for sure. The agency is deploying a team right now, we know, to Chicago.
Man, I guess she did have
Russia's
contact with
tourism
somebody.
watchdog is
Oh no,
advising
the second case was,
sales
sorry,
packages
possibly a third
to
one.
China, and our own State Department had said proceed with caution if you're looking to go to that neck of the woods. Jonathan Seri is following it all as well as anyone I know on the planet.
CDC has
He has the very latest. Jonathan, it's fast moving, isn't it?
deployed to Illinois.
It is indeed, and as far
After
as
this,
the
I'm going to get off this thing,
case of
share my
confirmed
video.
coronavirus in the U.S. goes, the patient is
I'm just
a
trying to
woman
tell the
in her
truth.
60s, a Chicago resident, and she became ill after returning from a trip to Wuhan, China.
I'm going to say something
Wuhan is,
too.
Of course, the city.
I do not believe that our government or our news services are trying to keep true numbers from us. I am telling you, however, that all of the doctors in China are saying that China is lying about the numbers that they are giving us in the first place. That's on Twitter. That's why you need to go on Twitter for the true numbers. So I'm going to play this guy. When we get them.
Where the outbreak initially began, Neil, doctors say the woman is in stable condition and doing well clinically. She remains in a Chicago hospital primarily for infection control. The only other confirmed U.S. case is a man in his 30s who became ill after traveling to central China. He's under quarantine at a hospital.
A man in his 30s. This is what I wanted to bring to you. I'm glad they brought that one up. I was going to find that video. I'll just play it off this one. The man in his 30s. A minute ago, they said, oh, it's only old people. Oh, it's only sick people that have already got a pre-existing condition like, oh, I don't know, they had a heart attack back in 1970. Whatever kind of ridiculous excuse they're using to say that, oh, they should have lived through it, but they didn't. This disease is a killer, people. It will kill 3%. Its infection rate is severe. Some people are super spreaders, which means that one guy infected the entire staff of 15 people who are doctors who were wearing masks and scrubs to work on him, possibly even the full suit, okay? And they're putting their dead bodies in the hallway because I think they pretty well know they need the suit on, it's everywhere, and they've given up. In the end, they're going to need to maybe burn that hospital, maybe demolish that town. And China has built other cities that for some reason they had all this money. They said, hey, let's build cities. So they built all these cities and they're ghost cities. I think that they need to build Wuhan 2. And I'm saying it's already built. Are you with me, people? These people that live through this need to get out of that entire city, and that entire city needs to be razed to the ground. That means demolished. They need to burn it, flatten it, put a memorial up to the people that died and be done with it and move on. And then the other towns, depending on how they wind up, I'm not trying to say, that they need to destroy their own main city of Beijing because, hey, that's their place, right? That's their main city. Look, if the people are in there dying and it becomes a death trap, Forbidden City is a word I would use for about 13 of those cities y'all got over there. if anybody from China is listening, with all due respect, you might want to put a label on all of them and make them all forbidden cities. I'll finish playing this.
Outside Seattle and is also said to be doing well. According to the CDC, there are 63 U.S. patients in 22 states under investigation for possible but still unconfirmed coronavirus infection. They include a Texas A&M student who developed mild symptoms after returning from Wuhan. He's voluntarily isolating himself at home as Texas health officials await test results from the CDC.
Confirmed case. Contact tracing will begin, and all contacts will be monitored for development of symptoms.
The vast majority of cases remain in China, where health officials report 830 confirmed cases and 26 deaths. The Chinese government has expanded full or partial travel lockdowns on at least 10 cities in the province of Hubei, which includes Wuhan. Outside that region, several popular tourist sites have closed, including the Forbidden City in Beijing and Shanghai Disneyland. Now, U.S. health officials believe that the threat to the general public here in the U.S. is relatively low, but if you have traveled to central China within the past 14 days or have had contact with someone who has and you start developing symptoms, they say it's important you contact your health provider. And this part's important. Call first.
Call him first.
So they can get infection
I'm so
control
glad he
measures
said
in
that.
place before you present
I
yourself
like him.
in
I don't even know who he
person.
is.
That would make sense. Thank you very much, my friend. Jonathan, sorry, in the middle of all of this and trying to keep track of it. The CDC, by the way, is seeking an emergency authorization from the FDA to allow states to go ahead and use their own diagnostic testing to curb the outbreak, or at least get ahead of it. To infectious disease expert, Dr.
We gotta shut this down. I'm gonna stop this for a sec, and then I'm gonna go. Listen to me, people. I'm gonna tell you how this is gonna have to be. I do not know if anyone that is watching this, and you don't have to say anything, doesn't matter. I'm putting my words out there, okay? I don't know if anyone is familiar with stomach viruses, okay? But I'm gonna tell you, if you ever get a stomach virus, you will learn that it has a period of a couple of days that you won't know you have it. Then it could be even upwards of 2 weeks that you could have it, and it will make you sick at your stomach and everything else, and nothing's going to work right, and you're going to be eating crackers. Okay? So think of it as a 2-week ingestion period, if you call it, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And then it will be gone. And as long as you quarantine yourself away from other people, even if it's in your own home, you can beat that virus by quarantining. Then it has nothing to live on. Then it's done. This is airborne. This is a different situation. I think it's coming anyhow. But our only chance in hell of stopping this and eradicating this is if we treat it exactly like you would treat a stomach virus. Quarantine yourself. Don't go to work. Don't go anywhere. And they've got people that are staying in their house, don't have people over, you know what I'm saying, but they have people that are staying in their house under medical quarantine in their house, and that is a way to go. They said it worked kind of with SARS, okay, until the virus dies. And I don't know if this will be able to be a virus that will live on contact surfaces for however long, or if it has to be inside of a human host. I do not know. This thing is mutated, you know, into something from reptile DNA, from a mammal to a cold-blooded animal where it should have died, back to a mammal. Who knows what kind of superhuman properties this thing may have. I'm going to say this. Let's hope that it dies in open air after so many days of not being inside of a host. Let's hope that if you quarantine and if you treat this like a stomach virus, that it will die and it will stop spreading. Then those cities can be determined to be clean. Those people may even have an immunity to something later with their reptile DNA in them. And this will all be a memory of the distant past. I'm going to say, I don't think we're that lucky, because people have already come over here and been in contact with other people. We're going to have to hop on this, people. This is going to have to be the hardest, most serious. Not we're tracking and watching these people. They need to put those people who are suspected in rooms that are negative pressure rooms where you open the door, but it's sucking in air through another way and it goes out and it's actually cleaned with the way they do it. It doesn't matter. They need a negative pressure room. They need bleach wipes like crazy. They need gloves and full suits when they deal with these people, but gloves for these people, and clean the whole place and they need rooms set up just like if we were getting Ebola patients in. They need to maybe even utilize those facilities for the worst ones to heal them there, because they know how to deal with them. Put them in a bag, bring them in, and they should live. If they don't, they don't. But that's how you treat them. That's how you have to. And those people are trained in how to deal with Ebola. It is exactly the same way they should be treating these people, not leaving them as bodies in the hallway for other people who are waiting in line to get the same disease. If they don't already have it, they definitely have it, and they're going to die of disease they have anyways before they're even seen. So the true numbers are not there, and we need to treat this like a stomach virus. And if it can just go away and die by not being inside of a person, or once it runs its course that person's not infectious anymore, hopefully, because they've even found Ebola in people's eyes that have beat the disease, but they say they found the live virus still in their eyeball. So I'm hoping that this will be like a stomach virus in the way that it has to reproduce inside people. Maybe they can curb it with some hard quarantine. Otherwise, invest in casket companies, and there won't be enough of them. Y'all stay safe. I'm going to get off this thing. That's what I got for you. I'm going to put this up as an Operation Hot Biscuit, and I really appreciate the people that are supporting and showing this, because we all need to wear the masks when it gets here to keep other people from getting it, even if you have it. And then it's in a hard quarantine. I don't know what's going to happen with Seattle. I don't think it's going to be a major problem in Chicago, but if we can stop planes from importing this stuff, we might live through this. And if China can get through it, and however many people die there will die there, the death rate will happen, and then maybe it's a foregone conclusion that will happen, but maybe that it won't mutate to where it kills a lot of their population. Maybe we can keep it from other countries and then quarantine it hard and give it its gestation period, that's what it is, of its life cycle, and maybe we can end this shit. Let's be real. This is going to be worse than the Spanish flu. The doctor that went over there thought he could help, and he decided he left. He was one that actually developed the sequence for SARS to figure it out, what was going on with it, and he thought he could help, and he saw it, and he's like, nope, it's done, and he left. So, and the military's moving in there. They're not giving us true numbers. So y'all stay safe. I'm going to get off this thing. You can share my video. Keep in touch with those people that are doing those things on Twitter, so you'll know if it's in your state and where it's at and what you have to do. Definitely call the doctor of the hospital before you go, so they'll have a special way for you to go in and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck to all of us. So y'all stay safe. I'm out. Peace.